So sometimes we have to bring things to light to make it a national conversation, to start questioning our behaviors, start questioning our belief systems, our lifestyles. And sometimes we have to look at each other and be like, when you look at someone and you're mad at them, you don't like them, you're identifying with the information, for one, and you see yourself and you don't like yourself. Well, why is that? Because here's the thing. I didn't know, but at some point someone was going to take what my dog and I went through as a platform for whatever they wanted to use it as a platform. And so that link, or that YouTuber Illuminaughti, ILLUMINAUGHTI YouTube video present does a lot of different videos on different people, and I guess I'm one of the lucky ones that he or she likes to cover. And they did cover the Jilly Juice world back when they were trying to link myself to Bruce Wilmot's passing away. And it's quite interesting how people make correlation equals causation. That's no different than the anti-V world linking Bill Gates to the death of so many people. I mean, why would I want to put myself in the world of Bill Gates? Because whether he knew or not, the climate was going to change, and that potentially those therapies might be a little bit more energetic than people were to expect to experience. We don't know. Okay, we don't know what he knew and when he knew it, and maybe there were certain things he said about the future and all that. Okay, whatever. But it's still information. Nothing is poison, anything that's FDA approved. And so when we give ourselves and our children and our animals to medical, holistic, veterinarian shamans, we're obviously not willing to take personal responsibility for our animals, for ourselves and our children. And we're always giving it up to somebody else to do something too, and then blame when the animal gets an adverse reaction or the human gets an adverse reaction and or passes away. And so it's like, it doesn't matter when you think about really that people blame the Jilly Juice world for my dog or for Bruce Wilmot or for anyone else that matter, because at this point we now need to look at our participation in the medical holistic system, our participation in the enslavement of humans and animals, and why we have humans and animals in our world to begin with, and maybe the world is changing. And so if I'm going to be used as a tool, which I know I'm being used as a tool for other people's agendas, how they spin whatever I was going through, that's fine. If it has to be done in a negative light, because let me tell you, you do things in a positive light around the J world, then it's going to discount and say something is wrong with the medical world, with the holistic world, with the veterinarian world. And of course, the system doesn't want to cast any bad light on the system of the medical, holistic, shaman, veterinary system, because it's a multi-trillion-dollar business. And so that would never happen. And so if we have to look at ourselves in a negative light, that means that we have to see what we have developed and caused humans and animals to endure. And the only way not to suffer in our world is to either destroy life, anesthetize it, cure it, or drug it out, or actually outright destroy it. And when you're like me, I'm a total proponent for pro-life. That's not in my cards. But then at some point you have to realize that when an animal has already been entered into the veterinary system because of prior owners and backyard breeding and horrific genetics, because of the backyard breeding and the commodification of animals, why we have so many shelters. And then I realized that I couldn't save my animal even if I tried, because she was already too far gone. And you had to watch that. Absolutely. You're watching what you have done to your animals. When you saw what I went through, and you're going to watch whatever video the Illuminaughti, whatever, posted, you're watching what you are doing to your animals, what you have done to your animals. When they've been under anesthesia, when they have been taken to the veterinary system to get shots, to get surgeries, to get pills shoved down their throat, because we as a humans don't even understand what it means to keep life alive, or we would not be putting our parents and grandparents in the fucking grave and forcing them to go to oncology. So you get to watch what you have done to your children, to your grandma, to your own animals, to all humans out there. Okay, so watching me is like watching yourself. And if you're angry at me for me trying to save my animal, if you're angry at me and calling me a monster and a sadist, can you only imagine what you have done to your animals, to your children, to your grandparents and grandma, forcing them to get operations, forcing them to get these pills, powders, supplements, detoxes, attacking their life and their body? Yeah, you're angry at yourself. The people in the J world that watched this from beginning to end understood what I was doing. Right? So they're not angry with me because they understood what I was doing. Some of them have animals themselves that they're trying to keep alive. Some of them have not been through the veterinary system, been butchered because the prior owners took the animal to get a cyst drilled into. That's what I saw with my animal when I was trying to save her, was what the medical holistic system did to my animal prior to my ownership. And I'm going to say ownership because, yes, it's a slave master mentality. Now, I understand people have pets and they want pets for whatever reason. That's great. But the world is changing. And some people have animals and they have room, and the animal has freedom, and they have the love and all that stuff. And they don't have that background of first being a shelter dog, well, actually first being a backyard bred dog, like over here in Ohio. There are so many pit bulls out here in Ohio that people have backyard bred in my town and are selling them on the internet. They end up in the shelter. Then I end up going like, I'm going to adopt a dog. Well, someone adopted a dog for me. Actually, I did not have the pleasure or the luxury to pick out my own dog. Somebody else did. But it was great. My dog was fine. I loved her at the time and still do. And so then I took on that responsibility of giving her whatever life was left, and even tried to save her. And she looked great before then Mother Nature wanted her to pay for all the veterinary butchery that was done to her. Because remember, everything goes full circle. Anytime you put trauma to your body, and this is where humans and, well, all humans have to examine their participation in the veterinary world, in the medical system and the holistic system. When you traumatize your body with a surgery, when you traumatize your body with oncology, and then you want to say, okay, I want my life back. I don't want to do any more of the medical, holistic, veterinarian, shaman, life machine system. Okay, fine. Yes, you can go and deal with all your issues, but then you will also have to deal with the trauma of somebody drilling into you under anesthesia. You're going to have to revisit that growth again and revisit that hole that was drilled into you. And you can't try to anesthetize yourself because you'll then have to then revisit that. And then let the body regrow that hole that was drilled into you by that medical veterinarian professional. And so you got to see and be traumatized by what you actually do to your animals when they're under anesthesia, when you give them to a veterinarian and they close the door and you don't see what they do. You don't see anything of what they do. When I took my dog to a veterinarian, before I even decided not to do that, and I want to get her nails done, they took her behind a closed door to do her nails. I couldn't even be in the fucking room with her. That's why I don't take my dog to a veterinarian. I took her to a groomer where I could be there and watch them and help hold her a little bit because she had trauma from somebody else doing that and probably harmed her. So my dog came in with fucking trauma from a prior owner and the veterinary system. And so, people don't take responsibility. They don't want to see what the veterinary system does to the animals. Oh yeah, they saved their life because the owner was so irresponsible and allowed the dog to eat something and swallow something. And so the dog now has to get their stomach fucking pumped. Or the dog is like left out and escapes the yard and gets injured and then has to be then given to the veterinary system, or the shelter picks up the fucking dog and then says, oh, we have a missing dog here, and some owner goes and gets reunited with the fucking dog. That's fucking sadistic. That's the world I fucking live in. It's people who backyard breed, let their animals run amok, butcher their animals, shove pills and other things down their animal's throat, withholds food from their animal, puts all these different lotions and aggressive elements on their animal. Now we have to look at what humans do to animals. Now we have to look at what humans do to their children, to their mother, to their father, and it's fucking ugly. It is downright ugly. And so if you're pissed at me watching that Illuminaughti video and watching what I went through, maybe you look in your own fucking backyard and see what you've done to animals and what you've accepted to animals, to humans, to children, to strangers, to your parents, and fucking take a look at your own backyard. Because when you look at me and you get mad at me, you are definitely looking into a mirror. And I'm telling you, that reflection is fucking ugly. And so if Bill Gates gets all this crap because we have so many humans who can't take responsibility for their own health, he realizes he has to be that sacrificial lamb, though he will sacrifice himself because he's not getting any younger. I'm willing to take on the fucking brunt and throw it right back in your face. The trauma you see in me and my animal is a trauma that you also hold within and what you've done. Because let me tell you, I only owned one animal my whole life. That's the last animal I'm going to own ever until the system changes the way they deal with animals, and they eradicate the veterinary system, they eradicate the medical system, the holistic system, they eradicate the shamans and the alchemists, and they understand how to manage growth without destroying it. That probably won't happen for fucking centuries. So if I don't have an animal for fucking centuries, I would rather observe an animal free in the wild, climbing the goddamn tree, than watching an animal beg to go outside, watching an animal beg to be fed, watching an animal be left at home all day long, waiting for the owners to come home, whether it's in a cage. It's better in a backyard or better in a house where they have free roaming, but I'll tell you, that doesn't always happen. So some animals are locked up in cages for 8 hours a fucking day. And I've been home with my animal for the 8 years I've had her for the most part. Now, there's probably about 6 months where I did go to work. Maybe a little bit less than that. When I started working in 2016. When I worked for Timken for a couple weeks. And then I worked for TrueBridge, which was a life insurance company. But for the most part, I was home with my animal. And she never was caged. Yeah, I had to take her in and out, in and out, in and out. And so if I were to do it over again in a different environment that it's not so aggressive, I would have a doggy door like I wanted a couple years ago. But my husband thought she was passed away, and he was right. So no doggy door. But if I were to do it over again, I would have a doggy door. She would have free roaming, an reinforced fence line. And of course, food is all food that is acceptable to dogs. And whatever growth that ever happens, I would feed it and let whatever, if she would, see, here's the thing. The reason why animals get all their different seizures and all their different predisposed issues is because of fucked up genetics, the constant reproducing on stupid genetics, on animals that were never corrected. And so you have compound predisposed issues, and that poor animal suffers every single time it reproduces, which is why the backyard breeders and those puppy mills and those pet places can do a real disservice to animals, because the amount of fucking suffering that these animals go through when they're constantly dying and reproducing, and then have to suffer through the medical system, the veterinary system. And so fine, if you want to get angry at me, you're getting angry at yourself. If I have to be your reflection, fucking so be it. Let this be a national conversation. Our part in the butchery of humans and animals. And then, where are you responsible? And if you think it's okay for animals and humans to get butchered, maybe you should take a look at your own fucking backyard, look at yourself and what you're willing to accept. That you have been so desensitized to suffering that you're willing to drug out your animal and yourself so you don't ever have to face the pain of life or fix anything, or you give it away to some professional so you don't ever have to take responsibility. That is the issue with humans, is they give their animals and themselves and their children away to fucking professionals who will then do things to them and then wonder why it is that they have issues. And then you start blaming the system. Well, yeah, you gave your fucking self and your kids to the system. Now you're blaming the system and everyone around you. Yeah, humans right now are looking at themselves and they don't like themselves. And absolutely, you should not like yourself at this point because of what you've accepted, the lack of responsibility, but you were told only a professional can only take care of your stuff. Now we're realizing that, no, you don't have to be a professional to understand what the actual deal is. That you are commodified. That life right now is expendable, commodified, and traded, and not revered. And animals aren't sentient. They're just another fucking therapy for a person, or a slave to someone, or an inconvenience to a lot of people. And tolerated because now they've taken on an animal that they don't really have the means to take care of. Like my neighbors, they had a puppy, and that puppy was allowed to roam free. Then the father says, hey, do you want to take on a dog? I'm like, oh, fuck no, I have my own dog. I'm not taking on somebody else's problem here. That's what's wrong with humans, is that they bite off more than they can chew. They want to be like the Joneses. They feel themselves to be so powerful, and they bite off more than they can chew, and then it's everyone else's responsibility to go take care of their fucking irresponsible messes, whether it's their children or their animals. Well, now when you look at me and you're seeing how responsible, and I'm willing to face whatever demons, I'm willing to acknowledge that, yeah, I'm only owning a dog once in this world. Because this ain't I'm not watching another animal go through another suffering. When you get an animal, they only have a little bit of a lifespan, and you don't even know what the genetics in that animal is. And so then you are forced and leveraged to watch yourself suffer, watch the animal die at some point, and then watch the animal go through whatever process it needs to go through. Some may survive their predisposed issues. Others may have too much crap in their genetic line that there's no possible way, you have to put it down. And that's what's fucked up. And then you keep getting another animal out on top of that. Where's your fucking humanity? When you keep getting new animals all the time after they have died, whether it's 10 years, 8 years, or 18 years. You'd think one time's enough watching animals suffer through disease, even being on all the different pills, anesthetized and drugged out, blowing up because they're so overweight, because they're stopped up. You would think that people would be like, after that one animal, I don't think I want to watch another animal go through that process again. Oh no, people are like, yeah, I'll get another animal. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Knowing what I know about this world and the animals out there in my community, I couldn't fucking do it. And so, yeah, society's going to have to change how they view animals and how they view each other and how they view the medical holistic system and the veterinary system. If they can't fucking change that, no way, I'm not going to be part of that butchery, that master-slave mentality, the commodification of life. So, the Illuminaughti YouTube video is a depopulation agenda. It's making sure that those that are very unintelligent, extremely unintelligent, making correlation equals causation, they will never get this information. And I'm glad, because I don't want them in my world. I don't want anyone that believes that Illuminati video or any other videos about me and any other articles about me. I don't want you in my world, because you absolutely have no discernment. You do not do any of your own research, and you believe anything that someone tells you. And I don't even say you're gullible, because that's not really, the thing is the fact that you're not willing to consider other credibilities and you're going to put your hate into something that you absolutely have no idea what the fuck you're hating. See, I can see where you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's credible from that point of view, but let's look at Jillian's point of view. Let's see what she has to say. Oh, you're not giving me that. You're willing to only believe what that video or what that article said about me and then live like that's true and then turn it into a religion of hate. That's who the Illuminati are releasing, are those who fall into the religion of hate. And so that's fine. Believe whatever you want because you will eradicate yourself. You are the temporary people. That's who the New World Order is getting rid of, the temporary people who only look at one fucking point of view. And they are so tunneled that you don't deserve to be on a planet that has so much diversity. You don't. So please, make me out to be the fucking demon. And don't look at my information because I don't think you won't be able to handle it. You can't even handle looking at yourself. Believe me, you won't be able to handle all your predisposed issues. So, yeah, we're in a great reset. I fucking love it. Bye.